And I also want to do a quick shout out because I know I am very lucky to be able to have a open and honest relationship like this with a parent. I know a lot of people don't have that opportunity, and if that aspect of this has made this kind of hard to listen to for anyone, like, not alone. And I want to encourage you to, that even if you can't have this in a parent, to find the people in your life who you can have this kind of connection with. And if it is part of your life plan, I really hope you get to be a parent like this, because it's a pretty cool thing. So, yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Wow. Nice. I'm proud of my son. He's a good kid.
I'm all right.
Can't wait to see what he's like when he grows up.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, you didn't grow up till you were like 65. So
I didn't grow up till I was probably 60. So
I got time.
But it's getting better and better at 77. Yeah.
Welcome to Normalizing Non-Monogamy, the podcast where we interview incredible people from all over the world to hear their personal journeys of self-discovery through the lenses of love, sex, and relationships.
Our mission is to show people that they're not alone and to inspire them to embrace their true selves so that together we can open minds and live authentically without shame.
We believe everyone's story is powerful and beautiful, yet it's important to remember that everyone does life a little bit differently and that the views and opinions expressed by our guests do not necessarily reflect our own.
Additionally, we aren't doctors. Please consult a medical professional for anything regarding your health that you might learn about on the show. Enjoy!
Welcome to episode 442. We're Finn and Emma, and we've got a really exciting episode for all of you today. First of all, we've got Daniel back on the podcast. It's been 6 years since he first came on the show on episode 108. But today, Daniel isn't alone. As we promised way back when we first chatted, he's joined by his father, Andy, making this our first parent-child interview we've done on the podcast.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about this episode and super thrilled that we got to make it happen. And just a huge thank you to Daniel and Andy for coming on and for having such a beautiful conversation with us today. I love how during this interview, they're actually interviewing each other at times and learning things about each other in real time. I think that's pretty awesome. And it's definitely not something we've really got to do in the past. So yeah, pretty pumped for this.
Before we jump into the interview with Daniel and Andy, we also have something else really exciting to celebrate with all of you. And that is...
Buckle up.
Today is the 8-year anniversary of us starting the podcast. We wanted to say a huge thank you to all of the guests who've come on the show over the years to share their stories. We had no idea when we started this project 8 years ago that we'd be here today having done almost 450 interviews. And as of today, we've actually published 485 total episodes.
We're getting close to 500.
It's crazy. Again, thank you so much to everyone who has come on the show to share your stories with us. Obviously, this podcast doesn't exist without all of you. And thank you as well to everyone who's supported our work over the years in so many wonderful ways, from being part of our community and coming to events to listening to the show and telling others about it. It all means so much to us, and we're very grateful.
Yeah, I'm really grateful as well. I love doing these interviews, and I hope we get to have more of these conversations and keep doing this for at least another 8 years or at least another 6 so we can get Andy back. Now, normally we'd have some announcements before we jump into the episode, but as an anniversary gift to all of you, we're going to skip our regular announcements and jump right into the interview. But wait, there's a little bit more.
There's more.
There's more. We've also made today's bonus episode that's normally part of the premium subscription available to everyone, so you can check it out and see how much fun we have with the bonus questions. And you definitely don't want to miss today's anyway, because we have a hell of a lot of fun with Daniel and Andy over there. So trust us. Trust us. Stick around after this interview and go check it out.
If you're not familiar, our premium subscribers get ad-free podcast episode plus a new 10 to 15 minute bonus episode every week where our guests answer some fun extra questions and give us an opportunity to get to know them even deeper than we do during our regular interview. You can sign up on the homepage of our website over at normalizingnonmonogamy.com for just $4 a month. And with that, it is finally time to jump in. Welcome back to the podcast, Daniel, and welcome to the podcast, Andy. We're excited to have you both here tonight. And this kind of unique dynamic and new dynamic to the
Yeah.
podcast. We haven't talked to parent-child dynamic before. So we're really excited to have you both here. Thank you so much for agreeing and coming on and sharing your story today.
Absolutely.
Let's be back.
Yeah, I will say we set this up 6 years ago when we
Right.
talked to Daniel. I think one of the last things we said was, stay tuned. We'll be back with Daniel and his father. And here we are. So welcome to the show, both of you.
Yeah. Good thing I'm still alive.
Yeah.
I agree. I agree. We shouldn't have waited too much longer. Well, maybe without much further ado, we'd love to just have each of you introduce yourselves at whatever level you are comfortable.
You want to start?
Well, I was born before you.
I was
so-
born before you, so I'll start.
Yeah.
So my name is Andy. I was born in 1948. So that makes me
How you're
77 years old right now, which is old. And so I grew up I hit puberty in 1961. So I actually grew up sexually in the 60s somewhat, but really in the 70s.
Mhm.
And since this is about non-monogamy, I'm going to tell you when I first even became aware that there was something other than monogamy, which was in college. I was an English major, and I was studying the Romantic poets, and Percy Bysshe Shelley
Uh,
wrote a poem called Epipsychidion. And in that, he has this line, which I actually looked up today. True love in this differs from gold and clay, that to divide is not to take away. Love is like understanding that grows bright, gazing on many truths. So it was like, oh, okay, maybe there's a possibility for loving more than one person. So that was the first inkling. Then my senior year at college, I was with my college girlfriend. I thought we were going to get engaged when we graduated. And midway through the year, a high school friend came into town who was a flight attendant, and she needed someplace to stay. And I said, sure, you could stay with me. And let's put it this way. My girlfriend was very upset the next day.
Weird.
And I didn't understand that. I mean, I told her, look, I love you. So she was just in town for a night. And, we had a little fun. So what? But you're my partner. You're the one I love. But she didn't get it. And I started thinking that I'm not sure about this, only one thing. It just started to stop making sense to me.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So behaviorally, that was the beginning of the change.
Yeah.
Yeah. And without any real language or framework, I mean, the word polyamory didn't come around for another 30 years or so.
It's like 25 years. At that point, there was no polyamory. There was free love was the big thing. It's all about freedom. And possibly it was also called promiscuity.
Possibly.
And possibly it was just, we were having a lot of fun.
It's before they evolved the E and the ENM part.
The what?
Before the ethical came
Before
around.
the ethical came
Before the
Just
consensual.
non-monogamy.
Ethical was most of the time knowing someone's name, but not necessarily.
Right.
So, polyamory came around in the late 80s with a woman named Deborah Anapol, who wrote a book, who I was actually in a group in the Bay Area called the Bay Area Expanded Family Network. We actually put that together ourselves, and that was Deborah and her then partner.
That was before the internet?
That was before the internet. It was Daniel's mother and I, and there was another couple in it. We used to meet monthly and talk about expanded family, which included polyamory, but even though we weren't using the word that much. So, this was pre-polyamory.
Yeah.
The other thing that was instrumental at that time was a book called Open Marriage. And people thought that open marriage meant sexually open marriage, but it actually wasn't. It was about inclusivity and emotional connections, more than just one person.
Okay.
So that's kind of the prehistory of polyamory. Free love, open marriage, and then we got a label, polyamory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you were sort of, I mean, it sounds like your first exposure to it was, or your first sort of experience with it was sort of not really understanding that having an ex-girlfriend come and stay the night with you and fool around would possibly upset your existing girlfriend.
Oh, I was totally surprised.
Yeah.
Huh? Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, she was a sweet little Southern girl and was a virgin, but
Why is that relevant?
oh my gosh, did I just
Why is that relevant?
I don't mean to trash Southern girls.
That's not the point.
Look, I was pretty unconscious myself.
Yeah.
So I was basically going with the flow with this friend from high school and didn't see it didn't foresee it interfering
Yeah.
with what I considered my primary relationship.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. No, I appreciate you sharing that, Andy, because I think to me, it kind of shows a little bit of what I would say maybe I don't know if primal is the right word, but so much of this is programming, right? That
Yeah.
if we look at it and say, well, I hadn't necessarily been taught that this was bad, so I didn't see it as such. And then you do things and then you're like, oh shit, that somebody has a problem with that. And that's, I feel like, how we start to learn. But it was just really interesting to hear that was even for you in college being like, yeah, I had no idea that would be hard for her.
Yeah, I mean, I had at that time and have continued to develop looking at what the impact of my actions are on other people, especially my primary partner.
Yeah.
And at that point, it was more like, oh, here I am with her, and I want this, and she wants it, and I wasn't even thinking about the impact of on anybody else.
Yeah. 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 Hard lessons to learn.
Yeah, and with polyamory, it's complexity because you've got two people trying to relate to one another and be accountable to one another and care about one another. But then you bring someone else in, and now it just keeps increasing the complexity.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Without a doubt.
So that's sort of an intro to the fact that I stopped acting out polyamory in 1992. But my current wife and I, who have been together for 17 years, we don't say we're monogamous or non-monogamous.
But she'd have a real problem if you slept with someone else.
Oh yeah, we're living a monogamous lifestyle.
Yeah, but it's not.
But we're not identified with being either monogamous or non-monogamous.
Okay.
Yeah.
Understood.
Yeah.
And she has somewhat of a similar history where she had a lot of experiences early on, and so it's not like
Mhm.
it might be different for people who feel like they missed out on something.
Hmm.
But you're both making informed choices.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we're making informed and
Choices.
experienced choices based on our experience. That our
Yeah.
commitment is to whatever serves the relationship,
Mhm.
and monogamy serves the relationship
Mhm.
right now.
Yeah.
And I imagine
Right.
We'll see what happens.
until one of us is dead.
No, I mean, you might and have another puberty. Who knows?
Unlikely, but
Unlikely. I not ignoring you at all, Daniel, but I was just curious, Andy, what happened around 92 that you sort of stopped practicing this way of relating?
And I wasn't aware of this, for the record.
you went.
I wasn't aware that you retired in '92. Yeah.
Retired. I found a partner who was so compelling to me that I just had no interest in. And I didn't. It wasn't like a choice in that moment because we didn't identify as monogamous, and we had experiences with others, but mainly her. I was not interested, which was a total surprise.
Mm-hmm.
But before that, I went into each relationship saying I'm not monogamous. Including with Daniel's mother. And she was fine with that. And I think we worked things out pretty well around that, where we each had other partners and we knew about them.
And then y'all were a triad for a bit, yeah.
Yeah, towards the end of the relationship, we were a triad.
Yeah.
And I'd lived with two women previously back in the 70s in New Orleans. And we were an open triad.
Were you and my mom and your other and y'all's other partner, were y'all polyfidelitous? Like, was it just the three of you?
No, we all have other lovers. Cool. Yeah. So you bring up polyfidelity. Is that a term you're familiar with?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, but for anybody who's not, I will just say it's roughly, let's say, if, like you just mentioned, a triad where the three of you would be together, but nobody is dating or
Having
connected,
lovers.
having
outside.
lovers, partners outside of the three of
It's like non-monogamous in the relationship, but not outside of the people in the relationship.
so I can give you a little history on that because it was this is you're such an old man. I'm such an old man.
I love it.
There was a commune in San Francisco called Carista Village. They coined the term polyfidelity because they had families within their group, and they were faithful to the group.
Okay.
So so they had poly relationships, but no relationships with anybody outside the group.
Got it.
Mm-hmm.
They've been called a cult. They had a very long social contract with, and one of their things was
it one charge?
a balanced rotational sleeping cycle. Because they wanted to discourage couple bonding.
Wow.
So you had to sleep with somebody different every night
Wow.
Wow.
within the group.
That worked out.
Fascinating.
What?
That worked out really well.
I don't know. I never lived with them, but I was around them somewhat.
Yeah. So in 92, when you sort of met a partner where you're like, hey, I'm pretty much good, but she wasn't, she was still seeing other people. So it wasn't like you two came together and said, we are formally closing up our partnership. It was more just you sort of stopped having the desire to connect with others.
Yeah.
And he got tired faster than she did.
And then we split up and I went back to being poly. At one point in the early 2000s, I was in an intimate pod, a screen group of 9 people, 5 women and 4 men.
Oh, yeah.
And we would get together several times a year for long weekends and party.
And it wasn't all local, so it sounds
No.
like.
No.
Yeah.
Amazing.
But those were fun times too.
Yeah, I imagine. Well,
Yeah.
I appreciate you sharing a bit, Andy, and I know we'll circle back, but I wanted to check in, Daniel, and kind of get a little bit of your background, Daniel, and then would love to talk a bit about what it was like growing up with a father who was and a mother, parents who were non-monogamous, and also being the parent of kids who are non-monogamous and being non-monogamous yourself, because we've not had the opportunity to have this conversation before. So
We're uniquely weird.
only in the fact that you're on the podcast. Yeah. we actually had a couple come on a while ago who they go to the same sex club as their kids, but they just coordinate it so they don't arrive on the same night. And like,
Google Calendar, saving everyone.
Yeah. Yep.
He's never invited me to any of his parties.
Yeah,
I feel
so
kind of
weird.
left out.
Come on, Daniel.
I know. I'm a terrible son.
Such a prude. Such a prude.
Yeah, I didn't do a quick intro. It won't be as long-winded as his.
Old people are long-winded.
Yeah, got a lot of.
Did I tell you about the?
Yeah. Unplug your hearing aids. Yeah, I will update from when I was on the podcast before. I'm a mid-30s bi white dude from the Bay Area. I'm a therapist specializing in working with non-monogamous clients. My background in this is that I essentially grew up at a hippie poly commune that was entirely run by single moms. but there was a lot of non-traditional relationship styles, non-traditional body styles around. So I kind of grew up steeped in this. And, my own journey of it was growing up with kind of no clear default for what relationships were, and then getting really monogamous in high school, but doing that pretty poorly. And then in my 20s, kind of rediscovering for myself what non-monogamy meant and how it enhanced my life, and so how it challenged my life, and the ways that kind of shaped both my approach to relationships in general, but also just approach to life as a whole. And the updates from last time I was on here 6 years ago is I'm actually a therapist now instead of just aspiring to be one. So yeah, we did something.
Yeah, congratulations. That's a huge accomplishment.
It's worked hard for that.
Yeah, without a doubt. Well, and Daniel, what does your sort of relational ecosystem look like today?
Yeah. So today I am in a hierarchical poly relationship. My hot take is that I don't believe in non-hierarchy. I just believe in conscious or unconscious hierarchy, and we are consciously hierarchical.
What does that mean?
That means that Ryan is my primary, and my relationship with her is my priority.
Yeah.
And I also strongly believe in not having the hierarchy be a source of security. What that means is not flexing hierarchy as a way of making us feel secure, but instead trying to minimize the impact on other partners while still being honest that at the end of the day, this is my priority.
Yeah.
So I have my primary partnership, and then I'm in the early stages of another partnership where we will see what happens there. And I'm still dating. I've kind of blurred lines between friends and sexy friends, and kind of like it that way. And yeah, I tend to approach my non-monogamy from a standpoint of kind of some pretty strong abundance. I think that's one of the benefits of being in a primary relationship is that I don't feel like there's a lack of anything in my life, so I get to really pursue things that I feel add to my life.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that, and I'm curious. You throw out a couple of terms that we have not really had anybody toss out there, being the sort of the hot take that there is no such thing as non-hierarchy, and then sort of the conscious versus unconscious. And I know you kind of touched on it, but I'm just curious, like, to expand on that a little bit, because I really love.
Well, it's a hot debate. You know that.
Oh, it's
I want to jump in here for a minute because that was fascinating to hear that. I'm going back 50 years to where I had a primary relationship and a primary secondary relationship, and then secondary relationships.
You have the nice little ranking order.
So to think of that now as hierarchies is really interesting. And my primary relationship knew that was where my commitment was. Yeah.
Did the other in this system, Andy? Did the other part? Because I guess I'm curious, and this is maybe for both of you. Is like, I feel like the conscious piece of this is to be able to communicate to the other people in the dynamic, hey, this is what's going on. This is how I see everything. So they're not assuming something that isn't.
Yeah. My primary secondary knew my primary and knew I was in a primary relationship.
Yeah.
At one point then I met somebody else who became co-primary, and the three of us lived together.
Right, and I have some skepticism of that. I mean, for me, it's not just being honest with other people; it's being honest with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I think hierarchy can have kind of a dirty word, and it can be a dirty word in a lot of polyamorous circles, because it does mean that other people's relationship impacts your relationship. Your relationship is not siloed, right? And that can be really hard. And some folks feel that that's unethical. I understand why. And I really believe that all of us have different priorities, and pretending otherwise for the sake of pretending that there's not a hierarchy. That doesn't mean the hierarchy has to be necessarily set in stone, but this is my partner that I, want to marry, that I want to build a life with. And that is going to be my priority over other relationships. Ideally, I'm going to work really hard to be a good hinge and make sure that in as few ways as possible, other relationships clash with this one. But there are just some realities where they do, right?
Mhm.
In terms of scheduling, in terms of, whether someone's coming to my place or their place, right?
Well, and other people's needs too, right?
Totally.
Like if they're opting into this dynamic too.
Right.
Clarity, priorities about the priority, and communication.
Right.
Clear communication.
Yeah, I mean, it makes me think of something you said in our last conversation, Daniel, about the importance of a relationship being able to end.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that to me is part of what you're talking about here, is to say, hey, yeah, there's hierarchy and this person is going to take priority, but here is what I have available. Does that work for you or not? And if one or both people are like, hey, no, that doesn't work, then then it's okay to let that relationship go, right? And hopefully these conversations are happening, early enough that people aren't, 2 years into it realizing, oh shit, I'm really deep in
Right.
this.
And it's an ongoing conversation.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be let it go or end. It can be just change, just change, evolve,
Yeah.
adapt.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that.
I mean, it's also, one aspect of this is that it actually really impacts how I choose to date in terms of like my selection process, which makes it sound really fucking weird.
Not at all.
In terms of my discernment,
Not at all.
in that like,
Discernment's
we'll say discernment. And that like, I don't date single people, and I know that I am very susceptible to NRE, new relationship energy, which is the high you get in a new relationship for those who aren't familiar with the term. And so I specifically choose to date people who have structures in their life that actually like prevent us from getting too stupid with NRE, right? Like if I'm dating someone who's like married or has, or married with kids or all of this stuff, like I have these structures in my life that are very important to me. They have these structures in their life that are very important to them. We're not just going to get a U-Haul and move in together.
Yep.
Right. No matter how high on NRE we are. So that also kind of plays into how the hierarchy shows up in the way I date, because I try and eliminate, I know myself and I try and eliminate the opportunities for me to show up less in my primary relationship because of other relationships.
Yeah.
I just want to jump in on that one. There was a point in my current marriage where we talked about my having another lover, and it was someone my wife knew who was single. And as we explored it, it became clear that this would not be a good idea. That she would always be wanting more from me, and that would not be available.
And you're a sweetheart and you like to give people more.
Yeah.
And so it also eliminates the temptation.
Well, the interesting thing was it was a lover I'd been with 40 years ago, who happens to live in the same town that I live in. So we had remained friends,
Yeah.
but we were considering something more than that.
Well,
for a little while.
My point being that, like, yourself to a point where I'm speaking for you a little bit here, but I feel like when you're romantic, when someone wants romance from you, you like to show up with romance. And so by not making that an option, you didn't even get yourself in a sticky situation.
Well, I also realized this would become sticky, even if it would have been,
not romantic.
Fun.
Got it.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that. And what I know you were worried a little bit about the wording of that, Daniel, the like how you pick your people. But I think partner selection to me, I think is really important, especially when we are doing something that is more hierarchical. I mean, this is something that Emma and I have talked a lot about, is that like, I'm very clear that there is hierarchy, and I find it much easier and much more comfortable to partner with people who also have that exact same thing. Like, I'm expecting to be cast aside here and there. Like, I go into this knowing that, like, if something happens, I might get a call at the last minute, like, hey, I can't come see you because my partner, blah, blah, blah. Like, I signed up for that. And I'm very well aware of it. And that doesn't mean it won't suck at times, or maybe it happens so much that it's like, oh, yeah, this isn't going to work anymore. But like to expect that there isn't any of that would feel it just. I don't go in with that expectation because I understand who I'm connecting with.
Right. And that's where I feel like the folks who insist that they're in non-hierarchy, I'm a little bit like, that makes me less comfortable here.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you're telling me there's no hierarchy in your relationship, I think you're just not aware of where there's hierarchy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Totally.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Well, I'd love to chat a little bit about, I don't know, I don't have like an exact question, but the growing up in this dynamic and raising a kid in this
Like
dynamic.
what does it look like from both of your perspectives? What did it look like?
So I didn't really raise Daniel,
Mm.
and we got closer. I would say starting like in
Beginning of high school?
Beginning of high school.
Yeah. That's when I first moved in with him.
Yeah.
But, you know, you were a figure in my childhood. I was aware of you.
Yeah.
And that
I was around. I just wasn't a primary.
well, you were around, and I knew of you and some of your escapades,
Oh dear.
which is also what shaped some of this.
I was very friendly with many of his mother's friends.
Yeah.
That he grew up with.
Yeah. So, I can speak for myself of like being raised in a space that was, like I mentioned, very sex positive, right? The house that I lived in as a child also ran tantra workshops. I would like go down to use the pool sometime, and there'd be a couple floating there. I'd be like, great, I will come back later and wait for the pool filters to work.
For anybody listening, floating is different than soaking.
Yeah.
For our Mormon
it's a different
friends.
faith. Yeah. Well, yeah. So sex was around a lot, and that's not the same as non-monogamy, but like relationship styles. But there was also, it was clear that it wasn't just between like their husband and wife, and that's why they're doing that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know how much of it was said to me explicitly, but the other thing of being raised by a bunch of women, there was a lot of gender conversations, and in some ways that were like pushing back against traditional gender roles and allowing more space for women to be promiscuous and that not be a like somehow bad thing. So I think that was just sort of like in the air that I breathed growing up, and that did impact me a lot. I do wish I had had more explicit conversations, like with my mom, for example, about this. We never really talked about it much, but I still think that just knowing more now about child development, I think so much of what I learned was just in the framing of space that I was in and the things I was learning, rather than in the explicit language. Yeah, and then hearing about Andy and what he was up to, and that was often cast in a negative light because my mom was definitely not Andy's biggest fan, and many women in the community were. So kind of hearing about that, also I had a negativity toward male sexuality, I think, but specifically a male sexuality that felt reckless. So to connect that to non-monogamy now, I do think that there is a thread throughout my childhood of pushing back against reckless sexuality, and specifically emotionally reckless. I'm not even talking about like STIs, stuff like that. I'm talking about like approaching sexuality from a place of not thinking or like base desire. And that, I think, led me to a more intentional kind of sexuality, which becomes intertwined with non-monogamy. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's fascinating to hear you talk about it like that.
Yeah.
I mean, because my relationship, so you were born in 1990. I got married again in 92. So you saw it. So from age 2 to 8, you would come visit.
Yeah.
And I was solidly in a.
I mean, I didn't know that. It's not like you were like, we're monogamous. I was like, who knows what we're up to.
But then when we split up, you were 8.
Yeah.
And then, if you were watching me at all, consciously or unconsciously, I was pretty wild for the next 10 years.
Yeah, I think I learned what a revolving door was.
It wasn't quite a revolving door, but there was variety. We'll put it that way.
Yeah.
It was more poly than amory.
Yeah. Seems pretty amorous.
Yeah, there's that. Yeah, but it's really fascinating to consider what influenced you and your decisions.
Mm. Were you thinking about, like, I know you weren't around for a lot of my childhood, but were you at all conscious or thinking about the impact on your kid of sort of the way that you did your sexuality and the way that you did your relationships?
I'm embarrassed to say no.
There's not a wrong answer. That's fine.
No, but again, it's considering the impact. That's a very sophisticated idea to really consider the impact on everybody around you.
Yeah.
Everybody in your life. And that's why I say I'm embarrassed that even though I wasn't taking an actively part in parenting you when you were young, I always had a sense that we'd have much more of a relationship later on.
Yeah.
And
You
I
came through
kind of knew that.
when it was needed.
Yeah, you definitely. Yeah. But in terms of the early years, I think when you were with us, when you came to visit us, I was pretty responsible about, just really being there with you.
Right.
But I didn't consider, how that might affect you later on in terms of,
Interesting. I'm gonna steal y'all's question because I think I know that I was pretty much an accident, but
he was conceived after his mother and I split up.
yeah, I'm a special kind of bastard.
No, we were still legally married.
Yeah, sure. Anyways, but I'm curious if you and Tanya talked at all, because y'all were in a triad right near the end of your marriage, and I'm curious if there was any discussion of, like, what it would be like to bring kids into that dynamic.
No, I did not. No.
Yeah.
Ooh.
You weren't thinking about kids.
No.
Okay. Yeah, because I know that's a conversation that a lot of folks are having these days, is how to have children in a non-monogamous dynamic. And I guess I'm hearing you talk about these families that used to be part of these cults.
There weren't kids in that.
Okay.
Carissa did not have children.
So that's kind of my question.
Intentionally.
Back in the sort of, like, the years of non-monogamy, like, was there this discussion about raising kids in this dynamic?
Not really. I'll tell you a really weird experience I had very early on when the first woman I was with that was married, I went to her house where her husband and kid were sleeping in the other room, and we spent the night together. And in the morning, her, like, 3-year-old or 4-year-old crawled into bed with us, and it was really strange to me. But there was no talk about it. It was just, yeah, I'm married and I got a kid, but I want you to come visit. Okay, sure.
Gotcha. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
But children were not part of most of the polyamorous scenes that I was involved in.
Do you think that's because they leaned more sexual than romantic? Like, that's an assumption I'm making, but
Probably.
okay.
And because I was in a particular kind of narcissistic, Peter Pan-ish, immature,
like validation seeking kind of thing, or
just fun, not I won't say irresponsible, because we were, responsible in our way, but we weren't looking for family in a sense, and children.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it sounds like it was less of a, like, political, like, polyamory was not a political action for you.
No, it was mainly hedonism. Responsible hedonism is what I'd like to call it. Mostly.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that, Andy. And I'm curious then, when it sounds like in high school, when Daniel's in high school, you two start spending more time together and coming sort of back into the picture. And I'm curious what it's like at that point for both. I mean, that's very formative years for
Yeah.
figuring out relationships as a kid and stepping into that at that point.
So I was living in Las Vegas, and I started to get a sense and heard and that he and his mother were having trouble.
I was starting to get a sense. She was about to be in foster care.
That I didn't know. I didn't know she was going to put you in foster care. But it makes sense to me now. So I moved back to the Bay Area. I got an apartment near a school. I'd say sophomore year, you were with me about half time, junior year, about 3/4 time, and senior year, pretty much full time.
Yeah.
That's my.
I think junior year was full time, but yeah, essentially.
Yeah. And that was very cool. Yeah, I enjoyed that. And I my work was to go off for a week to teach a seminar, and I felt very comfortable leaving him in that apartment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was kind of a interesting part of it because, we were meeting each other, getting to know each other more, and, you were getting to sort of see me be an actual human. But I think it's hard to identify necessarily how we were influenced each other in that way or at that time. Because at the time I was, Andy very correctly read that if he had come in and done the whole before it because I said so thing that I would tell him to fuck off.
Yeah.
So he kind of just like treated me like an adult and just like let me.
I trusted him.
Yeah. Really based on very little. But because of that, I lived up to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But in terms of relationships, I don't know. Did we talk about relationships much when I was in high school?
No, I think when were you with?
I was with Steph for most of high school,
Right.
except for.
And I know at one point,
junior year.
this was cool. I knew he had a serious girlfriend when he said he wanted a real bed. So we went out and bought a real bed for him.
I was on like a futon before that. Yeah.
And I think I think I probably used the word condom at some point.
Yeah, no, you were very clear about that. No, but I'm trying to think if we had discussions about like non-monogamy and monogamy because I knew that you were, in what the kids these days are calling their slut era, or their hoe phase. But
I was in a pod.
yeah, no, I didn't have a judgment of it. I was just like, oh, Andy's doing Andy things. But I don't think we like really talked that much about
No.
relationship dynamics.
No, we didn't.
No. You did model being over the moon, like excited and affectionate about your girlfriend. About when you were dating Lakshmi.
Mm-hmm.
You were always really good about, and I actually remember this when I was a kid too, about just being like so obviously very into the person you were partners with, even while being with other people. So I do remember that, and that did happen.
Primary. Yeah, that was the primary, the hierarchy.
Well, I don't even know if I read it as primary as a kid. I think I read it as like, this is how you should feel about someone you're in love with.
Yeah.
Like you should feel so excited the second they walk in the door. And like, and this was watching you, how old were you? Like 60 something? 50 something? You were old.
I was old.
And you were still like puppy dog excited.
I'm 77 now. I'm still totally in love with my wife.
Yeah.
And more so.
So
She walks into a room.
I think you did demonstrate being able to have that feeling towards someone while still having desires with other people.
Oh, good.
Yeah. I think I did pick up on that.
Okay.
Well, and I think even just to see your parents excited and in love, right? I feel like that is, I know
often that's not shown.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. My mom and my stepdad, that was not the case. Yeah.
Right.
On the other hand, if it happens too often,
I mean, no, I mean, y'all weren't inappropriate about it.
Okay,
you were just excited.
yeah.
But yeah, getting to see that I think is significant non-monogamy or monogamy, right? Especially when you think of your parent as like not just regular old, but like old.
Well, we were older parents when
Yeah.
he was born. I mean, when Daniel was born, I was getting ready to be 42.
You're 43. Tanya was 45.
Tanya was 45. I was
Yeah.
getting ready to be 42. She was a couple of years older than me.
You would know better than her.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I appreciate that though, because I will say, I mean, my experience growing up was I didn't see that, and Emma can attest to, like, it's not been that long since like we hold hands when we walk.
Yeah.
Like it like I didn't have models for that, and I think I read it as this is like something that you don't show the world,
Right.
and so public displays of affection, they were non-existent in our relationship for almost all of it.
So my parents were married 59 and a half years.
Wow.
And I didn't know consciously that my father had girlfriends the whole time until I was about 18.
Right. He was the OG NM minus the E.
Yeah. Minus the
Minus
E.
the
Yeah.
And it was very confusing to me when he introduced me to his girlfriend when I was about 18 or 19. His girlfriend at that time. And then at some point I said to him, when did you start cheating on Mom? He said, what time was the wedding? And he said it like it was a cute thing. And now I see that it's, kind of entitled patriarchal assholiness.
Mm-hmm.
But
that also shaped your early idea of manhood.
But one of the things about that I think contributed to my way of doing poly was I didn't want to cheat on anybody. I was out front with the way what I wanted.
Yeah. You didn't want to cheat on anyone as in like do things behind people's back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. I did not like that when
Yeah.
How did you have like did you have feelings come up of like shame if you were like doing something that you felt was gonna upset someone else that you were with? I guess, was there times that you had to like make yourself be transparent about it?
No.
Or was it always just okay?
No.
Yeah.
No, it was very important to me. And I really don't do shame much. Shame's not been a big part of my life.
No,
Which in some cases is good, in some cases
you could use a little bit.
I could use a little bit more. Maybe guilt.
I've got plenty for you, Andy. If you like some, I can give you a couple shovelfuls.
Yeah.
I'm curious, in the last episode, Daniel, you mentioned that kind of like knowing your big why for non-monogamy, or that it's important to know your big why.
Mhm.
And I'm curious if what both of yours is today.
Like, what was your big why for doing non-monogamy?
My big why was realizing that monogamy was a social construct, a programmed social construct that just didn't seem
So spite motivation?
no. It just didn't seem, quote, natural. There was a time when I was kind of a zealot proselytizer for group marriage, which was very interesting when my partner and I went to what was called a family life festival in Reno, which we thought, we'll have a table with some books about non-monogamy, and people would give us dirty looks. And it turned out to be a Baha'i festival, sponsored by the Baha'is.
We have no idea who that is.
They're very rigid, traditional, male, female, patriarchal.
So like a religious thing?
Yeah.
I got it.
Yeah. And we didn't know that, so it was a little. But that period of time, I was very zealously anti-monogamy. I'm not anti-monogamy anymore. I'm not pro-monogamy. I'm not pro-polyamory. I'm not anti-polyamory. It's like you have to really look inside and see what's right now and what kind of relationship you want and what's going to support the relationship.
Yeah.
A monogamous relationship, it goes through cycles of harmony, disharmony, repair. Okay? Inevitably. So that's two people. that can be pretty complex. Now you add somebody else, harmony, disharmony repair, you got a little more complexity to it.
You also have more resources, though.
You might have more resources.
Yeah.
So, whatever, it's really individual what works.
Mm-hmm.
So I still come back to your why is stubbornness. I was
No, my why is my why for a long time was what's going to be the most fun.
Okay. Gotcha.
That was my why for the most time.
Yeah.
Now my why is what's going to serve the relationship that I want.
Yeah. And that might be monogamy, it might be non-monogamy, it might just be by yourself, right? Like
it might be periods of monogamy and periods of there's no it's not any kind of rigid formula anymore or dogma or belief system.
It's funny hearing you say what's going to serve the relationship, because last time they interviewed me, I spent half the time ranting against people doing things solely in service of a relationship. But I think what I'm hearing you say is also it's not just what's going to serve this relationship, it's what's going to serve what I want in relationship.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's a nice distinction.
That makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think my why for non-monogamy is probably a couple different things. One, some of it is stubbornness. I do think that the sort of monogamous conditioning is really harmful. I think intentionally choosing monogamy is beautiful. I think doing it because it's a default, you're just going to run into problems. I think my why for non-monogamy, let me think about this, because I think I've seen it and I've experienced just how wonderful and beautiful it can be when you have a really good functioning non-monogamous connection. I think that's a big part of it, is the ceiling is very high, the floor is very low. It can be really emotionally devastating, but the ceiling is very high. I do go back to, I think, what I said previously, which is that I think that non-monogamy is constantly pushing me to learn and be uncomfortable and really face things about myself that I don't want to look at, but probably should for the benefit of myself and everyone around me. I think even after doing this for 15 years, that's insane. Even after doing this for 15 years, I am still encountering parts of myself that are misogynist, that are, possessive, that are, I have this incredible superpower of justifying anything that I really want to myself, and having to face that head on and recognize that I can talk my way out of everything, and that's not an okay way to approach relationships. Has been a really hard and important lesson for me to learn, and that I'm still learning. Right. So I think that I might have had the opportunity to encounter some of this in monogamous relationship, but I don't think to this extent. So I think there's a lot of opportunity for some very real and difficult mirrors in this world.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And I think it's, kind of what I think Andy maybe said a minute ago, that, there's a lot of complexity even in a monogamous two-person dynamic, and you start adding people, you start adding complexity. And I mean, this I know was the case for both of us, is, in monogamy, or when we had periods of monogamy, we could get complacent. You can kind of coast at times.
With my
Put a
wife,
lot more under the rug.
Not with his wife, but
Not with your wife.
it was a very special one.
there is no complacency in my marriage. But
No.
she did tell me the secret of a good relationship very early on.
Yeah, she would.
She said it used these words, and then I'll translate it. I've never met a personality that wasn't at least occasionally annoying.
Yep.
Which basically means that everybody's annoying sometimes.
You're never annoying.
Oh, yes. And I think that one of the things that gets in the way of any relationship, monogamous or not, is if you get annoyed with the person and think there's something wrong with the relationship because of that and question the relationship.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or that there's something wrong with me, right? Like I'm
Yeah.
going to be annoying, I'm going to mess up. That doesn't mean there's something wrong with me or the relationship or my partner.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, I'm curious to what you both feel you have either learned from each other or maybe that you feel you taught one another around relationships and polyamory.
I learned that I'm old.
Something tells me you already knew that.
But I forget it sometimes.
Oh yeah. And then he hangs out with me.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. What have I learned from you? Well, that there's a way in which, and I don't want to say this from an ego point of view, that my generation was kind of the pioneers of this whole movement. And, we didn't,
Your generation were pioneers in the same way that like Freud was the pioneer of psychology.
yeah,
A lot of cocaine was involved.
I didn't like cocaine. Fortunately. So I get to look at what the next generations, how they're approaching it. I mean, a book like Polysecure that I borrowed from him, that wasn't around when I was a kid.
Yeah, you were just figuring stuff out.
We were going by the seat of our pants. We were overly idealistic. Love is all you need, Hello, I love you. Won't you tell me your name? At the door. So to see that there's been actually a validation of something other than the mom and dad monogamous relationship system that I grew up in, the evolution of it, and even a podcast. What the fuck was a podcast?
You didn't have podcasts?
So there's thousands of people that are going to hear this, and they're thinking about these things. I think it's wonderful.
Yeah.
I think it's wonderful. And any relationship is not, quote, easy. Caring about somebody, loving more than one person, that's easy. But creating a relationship that feels intimate and connected, that's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah.
And there's skills that apply to monogamous and non-monogamous relationships that have to be learned. And
they might be applied more in non-monogamous relationships, though.
They probably, yeah.
Yeah.
What was the question?
You answered it.
No, you definitely do.
Thanks for the soapbox. I appreciated that.
He's always throwing us soapbox. Things that I have learned from Andy. I mentioned one of them, which was just like that feeling of excitement,
Mm-hmm.
and that not being a short-term thing, right? Like I'd watch him feel that for someone he'd been dating for a while. I think, kind of like what Andy was saying is, we've had quite a few, I mentioned this on the last time we met, or last time we recorded the podcast episode, but there's been quite a few problems that I've gone to Andy with and been like, man, there's this thing I'm struggling with and I don't really know what to do. And like, these are different factors. And he's been like, wow, yeah, I don't have the answer to this. I also had this struggle, but I also didn't have it when I was in my 20s. So sort of hearing that I am very much, I have the language to talk about this stuff and the experience to talk about this stuff at a much earlier time than he did because of the folks who went before me and because of the sort of like the language being established for me early on, which means I have shared language to talk about this stuff with. Right. So I think that's been a really big boon and one way that we do stand on the shoulders of slutty giants. Yeah, I think that's a big part of it. So the language, and then I think seeing Andy flow in and out of non-monogamy has also helped me be less of a zealot about it, and treating it less like an identity and more as a tool, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And the other thing I was, I'm married to a woman who is a relationship and sex therapist with a lot of experience. And Daniel, she has welcomed Daniel, and Daniel seems to like her too. And so that's another connection that's been really beautiful the last 17 years.
Yeah. Expanding family.
And
for sure.
and growing deeper.
Yeah.
So that we do have a shared language, shared some shared experience, and I hope he knows. I think he knows that we're there for him. We're not judging that there's a right way. There's no right way. There's no wrong way. Put it that way.
That's what I was going to say. Is one of the really big benefits here is we are all able to discuss this stuff, and not in a way where they're being like, "Oh, you cute child." It's more of like we're talking about it like we're, like if you were talking with a mentor, but who treated you like an equal, and that
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I kind of heard that in the, like, when you would go to Andy and say, "Hey, this is something I'm struggling with," and I think there's just, I mean, I feel like it's a really great lesson to hear is, right, you didn't even necessarily need the answer, but even just to hear, "Oh shit, yeah, I struggled with that too." I like to just know you're not alone, I think is so much of what we need in that moment, and to not have to, like, not only did you not, you knew you weren't alone, but you didn't catch judgment or anything around it.
right. I imagine for so many of your listeners who aren't able to talk about this stuff with their parents, right? Like people that they would go to for advice on so many other things, or who they would talk to about so many other things, and they're like, and this is when I can't, because if I do, I'll be met with all these judgments or questions, or like, whatever the response is. So I've been very lucky with that for sure.
Or someone's opinion as to what is the solution.
Right.
I mean, there's no formulas for any relationship, monogamous or non-monogamous. It's about being present and transparent and authentic and dare I say vulnerable.
Transparent, authentic, vulnerable. Is that the formula?
That's the formula.
Okay.
Oh, is that a formula?
I think that was a formula.
It's not a formula.
I love it.
Just ingredients.
Yeah,
Ingredients.
There,
Thank
yeah.
you. That's great. Thank you.
Make your own recipe, but those are the ingredients.
That's right. Well, I think I also want to say too that I loved, Andy, what you were saying a minute ago about, like, for so much of this, like, you were just doing it, right? You didn't have necessarily the books and the words and all of that.
He was just vibing.
But now
He
what's
was
that?
just vibing.
Just vibing. It was just it was about the vibe, right? But then today to come to be able to look back and say that it almost like there's like a legitimacy. I don't know if that's the right word, but like to this thing that you were doing for your whole life, and you were always sort of pushing against the grain. You were sort of the trailblazers. And again, I think we still are in many ways, but there is such a much bigger, I don't know, movement. There's a lot more visibility. And I just have to imagine that that's really, really cool to see, to be like, wow, that thing.
Okay, I remembered something. You ever heard of a TV show called Three's Company?
Yeah.
Yes.
I used to watch it every day before
So
school.
1977, I'm living with two women in New Orleans in a house of 7 people. And one of the women I'm with, one of my partners, is a writer, journalist for the New York Times. And she gets a call from her editor saying, hey, this show Three's Company is really popular. You can look around your community and see if you can find any situation like that. So she turned to our other partner and I and said, hi, can I interview you about this? It got written up in the time. We were the only situation like that that was sexual.
Of like any that there's articles about.
The other people, no other interviewees had a sexual relationship
Or admitted to it.
but with the three of them.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So that's
So-
so different from now, huh?
There was a different time, and that was a radical show at that time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So how is it for you to be able to, see now that we're on a podcast about this? I'm doing research about this. So this is part of the culture. I think it was something like 1 in 4 people under the age of 24 in recent polls have, and again, this is polling, so, question mark, but have said that they'd be open to a non-monogamous relationship. It's an entirely different paradigm.
It's a whole different paradigm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks for being a slut.
Yeah.
Ethical slut.
Yeah. There.
And thanks for talking to us about it. We
Yes,
appreciate it.
yes, yes. I have one more kind of fun question for the two of you before we wrap up. And that is if you have any bloopers you would like to share or any moments that didn't go quite as you wanted them to.
It's not quite a blooper, but when my parents were going to visit my brother and his girlfriend in Atlanta and wouldn't come to New Orleans to see me and my 2 girlfriends. So
Because you can't be open about that.
So-
Your dad had his
no, they
girlfriends all the
knew I
time,
was,
but-
but my mother would not come to visit us.
Yeah.
So I just piled the 3 of us in my van and we drove up to Atlanta. Fuck you, Mom.
I just
I'll show you.
That's a pretty good one. Yeah.
That's a good one.
I don't know if I have any bloopers that come to mind. I mean, all the normal growing pains.
Yeah.
Oh, I could think of one that this one's more sexual than romantic, but I had 2 partners who both had similar kinks with me, but with a very important difference. But they both called me daddy, but they meant it differently. And the first time the 3 of us had a threesome, one of my partners tried to speak for both of them, and say, you're our daddy and we're your little girls, which was not really my kink, but was hers. And my other partner, who that was definitely not her kink, said, you're his little girl. And that was the day that we learned that there are some very important, nuanced differences in different kind of dad kinks. So, that was a fun little polyamorous blooper.
I think I can get.
Nope.
You needed
No.
to call me daddy. My wife is going to call me daddy.
I think you could ask, and I'm really glad that we've discussed power of attorney.
Amazing.
Well, this has been fun.
Well, I was just going to say this has been an absolute blast,
Yes.
and just very grateful to both of you. And we did talk ahead of time. You both have agreed to stick around for some fun bonus questions, so
Yes.
we'll jump into that in a minute for our premium subscribers. But before we do, just wanted to give you each the opportunity. If there's anything else you wanted to share with the world today, well, you've got the microphone in front of you.
Be kind to each other. It doesn't matter how many others there are. Be kind to each others.
Yeah, I think I just want to second that. The world can feel kind of scary these days. What we're doing is inherently, I'm not trying to make it more dramatic than it is, but community is where the magic is, right? And whether that community is relational, whether that community is romantic, put effort into your community, and you'll see the dividends there.
I love it.
Wonderful.
Nice. Good kid. He's a good. I'm proud of my son.
Oh,
Thank you both. It was such a delight to talk with you both today and have this conversation. And hopefully we can do it again someday. You never know, right?
we'll see if it makes
I don't know how long I'm going to be around.
Yeah.
Who knows? Who knows?
I can't commit to be here 6 years from now, but maybe.
Not if you ask his wife to call him daddy.
Oh, that.
Yeah. He's got about 6 minutes left if he does that again. Amazing. Well, again, thank you both for being here. Thank you also for sticking around to have some fun in the bonus questions. So for now, we will say goodbye. And again, for our premium subscribers, we're not going to be gone long.
Bye, y'all.
And we're back. Thank you so much, Daniel and Andy, for coming on and sharing this today. It was so amazing to talk with you. And thank you for talking so much to each other as well.
Yeah, made our jobs really easy. So thank you from my side as well. And a quick reminder to everybody that the bonus episode that is normally part of our premium subscription is actually available for free to all of you today as a thank you and as a podcast anniversary gift to all of you. So you should be able to just find that in the normal podcast feed. We hope you enjoy it. And a quick reminder that if you want more content like that, you can head over to our website right on the homepage of normalizingnon-monogamy.com. Scroll down and you can sign up for the premium subscription for just $4 a month. And you'll be able to get this type of extra bonus questions and bonus content every single week.
Next week, we have, surprise, surprise, another interview for you. This time it's with Leah. Leah was first on the podcast back on episode 146. So it's been several years since she's been on, and we're so excited to bring her back on and tell an update of her story as well.
And with that, we'll see everybody in a week.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for listening.